Hey, what's up feckers, how you all doing? So this is the new and improved Limbo Reworked, remastered and of course incredibly powerful, our new Time Lord. Now as you can tell, my voice still sounds pretty damn bad because of this flu. It actually sounds like someone's just shoved a wire brush down my throat and rubbed it up and down. So before I get started, can we get all of these Zawarudos out of our system as well? Mudda all you need. I know I'm going to see plenty of those comments below this video, so get it out your system. Are you feeling better? Or maybe like me, you have no idea what the fuck all of this Zawarudo stuff was until you got linked some crazy ass anime stuff with loads of dudes screaming in it. It's absolute bonkers. Now, before Limbo's changes, the community was pretty vocal, or a section of the community was pretty vocal about how bad Limbo was, and he was the brunt of a lot of jokes, but he also had players who loved him the way he was and were incredibly good with him, and it will be interesting to see what they think of the new and improved Limbo, or maybe in their eyes he's not improved at all. So if you are one of those, let me know in the comment section below as well. So Limbo can now enter the Rift plane by using your dash ability, which is basically just rolling for every other Warframe. Dash to enter and dash again to leave the Rift, so you can banish enemies, dash into the Rift, kill them and dash right back out. Banish works more or less the same way it did before, except it now hits multiple targets, so it's an AoE ability which makes a huge difference when trying to banish teammates or a group of enemies alike. So not a whole lot has changed there. Now his next ability is a new one called Stasis, and this is the stop time ability. Casting it will freeze any enemies inside the Rift plane, whether you have them banished or inside your Cataclysm. It will also stop all incoming bullets or projectiles, as well as your own bullets, from travelling towards their destination. So you can cast it inside your Cataclysm, then all projectiles will stop moving towards their target until you deactivate the stasis, at which case they will of course hit home and kill whatever they were heading towards. Which means you may need to use your melee attacks when inside a Cataclysm if stasis is activated, because your bullets aren't going to be going anywhere, whereas your sword of course will hit home. Now I've not seen this, but I have heard of stasis being used to troll random players, which isn't really nice. It's kind of shitty that Limbo still has a bit of a troll factor to him. But if this does happen to you, then just switch to your sword and kill enemies instead. Now stasis sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is, but it is an amazing crowd control ability. With a max range setup, Limbo can stop a lot of enemies in their tracks and allow your team to clean them up. Also being able to banish and freeze bombards and napalms is absolutely awesome. Nullifiers will of course remove this effect if they cross over the affected target and they end up inside their bubble. But that's nothing new, nullifiers are dicks. Now his next ability, Rift Surge, is a good way to spread banish to enemies by killing those already affected by your Rift Surge. So if an enemy is affected by Rift Surge and you kill it, then that Surge will jump to the nearest enemy outside the Rift and banish them as well. So it's got a knock-on effect, and it will allow you to jump out of the Rift and kill those banished targets as well while you're still in the Rift plane. So it's a decent ability. Now I'm not sure whether you'd use it without the augment, that's entirely up to you. It sounds kind of crap, but with a Cataclysm bubble up and stasis activated, you can easily bounce Rift Surge onto multiple enemies outside your Cataclysm, which means they get crowd controlled by stasis as well, and you can pop outside, kill them all. But it can also be a pain in the ass for teammates who end up not being able to deal damage to those banished targets while outside the Cataclysm. And if you're in a group with randoms, you may be called an asshole several times over, which I was when I was leveling my Limbo. Now his ultimate ability, Cataclysm, functions pretty much the same way it did before, except now it deals a fuck ton of damage when you collapse that Cataclysm, or when it collapses itself when its duration runs out. You can now pick up ammo and energy and so on while in Cataclysm, but not activate consoles or life support. But you can't pick up energy or any of those once you dash into the Rift plane when you're not inside Cataclysm. So the big thing to remember about Limbo's Cataclysm is that power strength doesn't affect the damage of the Cataclysm collapsing when the timer runs out, or when you manually end Cataclysm. That explosion, power strength mods don't affect the amount of damage that does. The damage dealt by Cataclysm ending scales with 10% of the total health and shields of all enemies inside your bubble. So more enemies inside your Cataclysm will mean more damage. It scales incredibly well, and you will see some huge numbers. Higher level enemies will of course have more health and shield for you to take that 10% off and turn it into even larger damage numbers, and this turns Limbo into an absolute nuke. However, Armoured enemies can still mitigate a lot of this damage, Eximus units, crazy cat ladies, bombards and so on, but it will still remove a lot of their health, which will mean you only have to finish them off. So it basically means you can clean a room really easily. So how did I go about modding my new Time Lord Limbo? Well, I have 5 Forma on him, but it's pretty much a 4 Forma build because I had to tweak my original setup. My main build, and the build that I'm using the most at the minute, is my room nuke build, basically the Cataclysm exploding, and that's modded for maximum range, negative strength. I've got quick thinking on there and cast speed as well. The Haven augment is a personal preference, and I have it in just to help teammates out, but you can pop in whatever the hell you want into that slot instead, whether you want to put in maybe the Rift Surge augment or whatever. Having as much range as possible with your Cataclysm is the most important part of this build. You want to get as many enemies into that Cataclysm bubble as possible just so you can blow them up. Duration doesn't really matter either, and neither does efficiency. Duration because you're going to be just blowing up your Cataclysm yourself, so it doesn't really matter if you've got a 60-second one or a 10-second one, you're going to be nearly instantly blowing it up. But if you want to add a little bit more duration to help out your other abilities, then by all means go for it. Power strength when it comes to Limbo only affects his banished damage and of course the damage from enemies walking into the rift, hence the negative damage on my builds. My second build is very much still a work in progress, but it's going to be more of a crowd control build that focuses more on stasis and the upkeep of a smaller Cataclysm over maybe a cryopod or an objective, and it will allow me to take no damage from outside the Cataclysm but freeze any enemies that step inside of it. So let me know what you guys think of Limbo now that he's had his rework and these changes, whether you think they're good or not, whether you love them or hate them, or maybe you're on console and you can't wait to get your hands on Limbo now, then by all means let me know in the comment section below. Once again, I do apologise for my voice sounding like complete ass, or maybe you think that I actually sound better. A few of you said in the last video that you thought I sounded sexy, which kind of freaked me out a little bit, but hello. In fact, goodbye. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, or don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Warframe, and as always, thanks very much for watching.
I feel it in my bones, enough to make my system blow. Welcome to the new age, welcome to the new age.